Here it is, folks. Full count. The education of a pitcher, David Cone and Jack Curry. We got to do this kind of in a hurried fashion because David has like 90 interviews today. I will say this.
In demand.
Growing up a Met fan. And I dealt with a lot of years of bad trades like Nolan Ryan for Jim Fregosi, Mickey Lolich for young Rusty Staub. Then the Mets under Frank Cashen started to get it right. The Keith Hernandez deal was an amazing deal. The Gary Carter deal was an amazing deal. And I really believe, and I love Eddie, I know him personally, Ed Hearn, a backup catcher for David Cone, may have been the greatest trade in the history of the Mets. I know you've heard that before.
Well, yeah, I had never been to New York at the time, and I was traded to the '86 Mets in 1987, and people still think I was on that '86 team. And
I know.
At this point, I just take credit for it. I was like, yeah,
Why not?
I was there. Yeah, I was there with those guys.
Let's do it. But go with the 69 team, too. 50 years. Yeah, let's go. Let's get a cake.
Yeah, that's me. I was there.
David Cone, well, of course, you pitched the perfect game in 1999 against the Expos. It was the 16th ever in the Major League Baseball. When you're walking out in the ninth inning to the mound, you know what's on the line. What's going through your mind?
Well, that's one of the best parts about the book, I think, is that we show that, you know what, it's not all confidence and bravado. I was a mess. I've got 8 perfect innings under my belt. I walk up into the clubhouse at Yankee Stadium. Everybody scatters. Nobody wants to look at me. Nobody wants to talk to me. Everybody's superstitious. And I'm looking around, and my head's on fire. I mean, the adrenaline rush is just incredible. So I walk to the bathroom, put my hands on the sink, and I have a talk in the mirror with myself. And it was like Belushi in Animal House. It was good angel, bad angel. Don't hang a curveball. You're going to blow it if you throw this pitch to that guy. And the other part of me was saying, no, you're okay. You can do this. This is how you're going to do it. Be confident. And that battle back and forth. And you'd be surprised how insecure some of the best players are.
But you never know.
In that moment.
And it is ironic that you throw your perfect game there. Dwight Gooden throws his no-hitter there. But I want to go back to the Mets because you did get there in 87. You missed the 86 team. 88, that was a great team. And, we had Davey Johnson on a couple of months ago. I said, Davey, I got to be honest. I kind of look at your tenure as a failure because you only won once. I mean, you should have beaten the Dodgers in 88. I know Hershiser was great. Don't get me wrong. And you had a meltdown in one of those games. It's in the book. It's a great story. In the NLCS. Talk about your meltdown and the disappointment that you guys did not beat the Dodgers and get back to the World Series.
Crushing. All these years later, that's why I wanted to cover it in the book. And the raw honesty, I think, is the best part about the book.
It is. You call out some people here.
Yeah, and call out myself more than anybody. And, I decided to do a ghostwritten column with Bob Klapisch. And Bob Klapisch wrote the article. And, yes, I said some things. I called Orel Hershiser lucky. I said Jay Howe looked like a high school pitcher throwing curveball after curveball. Maybe mild by today's standards, but, it was bulletin board material. I never saw the final copy from Bob Klapisch. I got the byline. Obviously, if I would have seen the final copy, I wouldn't have let it go through. But, that's history. So, yes, I said those things. When I walked out to pitch Game 2 of the LCS in 88, my legs were like tree trunks. I was so nervous because they had 100 copies of this article on their dugout wall.
Wow.
Their whole bench was screaming at me on the top step. Even the trainer was giving me hell off the top pitch. And I clearly choked in that game, and I really wanted to get that out, how regretful I was, how much I think that 88 team really should have done more. I think if the Mets would have won the World Series or at least gotten past the Dodgers, we matched up well against the A's.
Yes, you would have won.
I think we had a good chance, and I think the whole franchise is in a different place. If they already had 86 World Series championship, and 88 on top of that would have changed everything.
Sticking with the 86 team, do you have any comments on the Lenny Dykstra, Ron Darling war going on right now? I mean, I talk to Lenny now almost every day, and I'm friends with Ronnie too. Yeah. I like them both. But it seems odd that Ronnie would go after him and say he said some of the things when he's got people, including Dennis Boyd, that said he never said that.
Yeah, or certainly didn't hear it when he was warming up. Yeah, I love Ronnie. He was my mentor with the Mets, and Lenny was great. I mean, these are my guys that I love. I love playing for the Mets, so I hate to see this going on. My sense of it, even though I say that I was on the 86 Mets, obviously I wasn't, and I think Ronnie probably regrets the book at this point.
You think he does?
It was probably not a well-advised thing to include in the book. And David Cone is our guest on Bernie and Sid on WABC. The book is called Full Count, The Education of a Pitcher. And, David, today you're going to be at Barnes & Noble on 5th Avenue at 1 o'clock. And book review tomorrow, Thursday, May 16th at 6 o'clock. And on Saturday, you're going to be in Livingston, New Jersey at Books and Greeting at 7 o'clock. Just wanted to get that out of the way. I know it's important to you, but you have a lot of great stories in this book, including, let's go to Joe Girardi. He's in the bullpen, and you're angry for some reason. You threw him out. What happened there?
Yeah, that's a common theme throughout here is kind of the anxiety that sometimes pitchers feel that I felt, the insecurity, and there was
especially with catchers. You gave Posada a hard time too.
Yeah, absolutely. I was a jerk to Posada. Absolutely, there's no two ways about it. And even to this day, I know I see Jorge, he kind of shies away from me. And I've apologized to him a million times too. So yeah, warming up before a game. My arm's killing me. I got nothing. And the bullpen catcher is trying to catch every pitch and frame it and pull it back to the middle of the plate and make me feel better about my pitches. And Girardi's the starting catcher, and as usual, they come down to warm up the last 5 minutes of the starting pitcher's routine. Girardi caught a couple pitches and swiped at him and looked at me, and he got this funny look, and he knew I had nothing. And I just said, "Out! Get out of here!" And I kicked him out of the bullpen. I wanted the bullpen catcher back, and Girardi looked at me like, this guy's nuts.
Right.
And it was just my own insecurity, my own anxiety, my own. I talk about some bad behavior that I'm not proud of, but Girardi. The best part about it is Girardi understood that. He never took it personally.
That's
he
him,
knew.
though.
He goes, "That's just Coney. He's just wired.
That's
he's
Joe.
just that's Coney's personality. He'll be fine." And he always worked with me, and he always was there.
Interesting you used the word wired. Bernie and I last week had Dale Berra in studio. Dale came up earlier than you in the mid-1970s with the Pirates, and he became one of the more reliable middle infielders in baseball, both offensively and defensively. But it all came to an end in New York when his cocaine use went above what he should have done. You admit in this book as a youngster in Kansas City that you did some cocaine. You were on a Met team in '87 that did a lot of cocaine, but it didn't derail you. But you do admit you had some issues.
Well, I really did. I almost got scared straight a little bit. When I was with the Royals, that was the first team that had one of the first teams that had a big drug bust.
Willie Wilson,
Vida Blue, Willie Mays Aikens. These guys went to jail,
and they were involved with Keith Hernandez and Dave Parker and all those big cocaine trials.
I was right there with them. I was a rookie, and Willie Mays Aikens says, "Hey, come to my house tonight." And I'm like, "Okay." I'm rubbing elbows with big leaguers, and the next thing I know, there's a kitchen plate full of cocaine on it.
I wish you had me and Bernie's number back then.
It looked like baking soda. The way they treated it, they just flapped it around on the kitchen plate, and I was like, "This is the big leagues."
Good times. Good times.
So that's I'm right there with them, and I'm a teenager at that point. I'm like, okay, this is how it goes,
There, but for the grace of God goes you and not Lenny Dykstra, I guess. I don't know. But listen, speaking of which, the Yankees' experience with you ended on a bad note. I mean, with George Steinbrenner, because you worked for the Yes Network, you went back to the Mets, and George didn't like that. And then, so what happened?
Well, yeah, George read me the riot act. I was already obviously a broadcaster for the Yes Network at the time, and then Al Leiter and John Franco got to me, and they're good, great guys. I mean, I love these guys. And you know what? There was something sexy about full circle, coming back all the way around and finishing my career in New York.
And they both got jobs inside the Met organization this year, Johnny and Al.
Yeah, and rightly so. They're valuable contributors, and they kind of talked me into it. They got the bug in my ear, and I said, what do I got to lose? Let me go ahead and try. If I fall on my face, I can deal with it. I've dealt with a lot of issues in my career, and so I gave it a shot. And my arm was fine. That's the mystery. The thing, my hip, my leg blew out on me, and that was the last thing I thought. I always thought it'd be my arm. All the pitches I threw, that one day my arm's going to blow, and my arm was fine that year. That's where I got fooled on the whole situation. Is the rest of my body couldn't hold up.
Right. The last one, you have another interview to do. You talk about come back to the Mets. You come back to Kansas City in '93, got you your Cy Young. That was amazing. And that '92 season when you went to Toronto and you guys won that World Series. What an outfield, by the way. Joe Carter and Dave Winfield. That experience for Cito Gaston in '92. How great was that?
Fantastic. Love Cito Gaston. One of the underrated great managers of all time.
He won 2 World Series in a row. No one even talks about him.
He was really smart, really a player's manager. He handled the clubhouse. He was a lot like Joe Torre in that regard. And so, he doesn't get the credit he deserves. That was Canada's first, '92. Yeah. People think about the Toronto. You say, Toronto Blue Jays World Series. You think Joe Carter's home run. That was '93. They went back-to-back. The '92 series was Dave Winfield got the winning hit.
Yes.
In Atlanta. He shook the Mr. May label finally. And let me talk about a party. In '92 in Toronto. That was a good time to be in Toronto when they won that World Series.
I like what I hear. Listen, David Cohn, it's a great book. With you and Jack Curry helped you write the book. Full Count is what it's called, The Education of a Pitcher. Some really well-told stories, excuse me. He's going to be at Barnes & Noble today on 5th Avenue at 1 o'clock. Book review tomorrow night in Huntington at 6 o'clock. And on Saturday, Books and Greetings in Livingston, New Jersey. David Cohn, thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on, guys.
All right, David. See you. We'll be back on Bernie and Sid after this.